Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of July 31st through August 6th, 2023. Alright, so this week we have a bit of an average week astrologically. We do have two very important events happening though. We do have the full moon, which will be on Tuesday, and so this is going to be in Sidereal Capricorn. And so time to balance out some of that more protective, emotional, reflective energy of Cancer, where the sun has been, and now balance it out with some of the more responsible, disciplined, and productive energies of Capricorn. So this week, particularly around Tuesday, good time to do a status check with how we can connect to our more personal life and our more productive life, our inner world and our outer world, in a way that creates a little more balance is always good with these full moons. Usually a bit of a shift of perspective and some shifts and changes can be great as well. So the full moon will be squaring Jupiter and the sun squaring Jupiter later in the week on Sunday. So good week to find some balance maybe with the over or under exuberance of things, the over and under enjoyments of things, and just with our perspective in general. Squares to Jupiter do tend towards the extremes with matters of perception, with enjoyments, with abundances, possibilities, potentials. And so the square urges us to have just a bit of balance and work with that constructively. And it can be a very constructive week for cultivating opportunities, new beliefs on life, maybe a bit of adventurousness or free-spiritedness in a way that is constructive. The other important event is Mars is trining up to Jupiter, so it's nice to see that Jupiter's in good harmony to Mars this week. This will also be around the Tuesday time period, and so a good week for maybe some confidence, some assertiveness, some of that action orientation is great. And also around that time of the week, Mercury opposite Saturn can help us maybe ground our minds and use some of that productive energy into things like learning or communications. All right, so let's go and take a look at all this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, July 31st. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will notice a lot of the signs are different here. And so if you do notice that, definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky, true sidereal astrology. All right, so let's do a bit of a week recap here, because as you can see, this week is a bit mild with the astrology in terms of its aspects. Again, of course, we do have that full moon, a lot of that concentration of energy there around Tuesday, but no major sign changes. The sun will be finishing Cancer this week. And so a great week to still be focused on, again, creating that protective environment for ourselves and others, and accessing more of that nurturing and caring energy for ourselves and others. And so it can be a good time to, again, reflect on the past a little bit, maybe connect more to the maternal or emotional or caring aspects of ourselves, and just a good time to reconnect with our soul, really. Particularly the soul when it comes to the emotions and feelings and who and what is important to us on an emotional level. So great for this focus with the sun still here, and of course that getting activated with the full moon that we'll talk about. But the fast movers are all still in Leo. Venus is still retrograde in Leo as well. And so it is a great time for cultivating our self-expression, our passions, and our enjoyments. We can be taking action in a way that's a little bit more fun-loving, a little more expressive, humorous even, just more into that playful or expressive way, which is good. We're thinking in a way that's probably a little more creative and a little bit more in alignment to what inspires us or what gives us that sense of fire. Maybe communicating in a way that's the same way there with Mercury. But Venus retrograde is suggesting that a lot of this can be going through a reflective period. What it is that we love, what it is we're passionate about, what it is that excites us and sparks that creative self-expression. And so it is good to be reflective here on these things, re-examine really our values when it comes to these things as well, whether they're hobbies or interests, whether they're the things or people we love, whether it's how we're expressing ourselves and whatnot. our values with matters of the heart. And in this way, we're learning a lot with Venus here all the way up until early September, when she then does go direct. But great for this reconsideration and reflection of our values when it comes to that Leo energy. And maybe a bit also in terms of how we're relating with others in that context as well, as Venus often deals with relationships. All right, so quite straightforward when it comes to the fast movers here. And so let's go ahead and break this down one day at a time, looking at the moon. So the moon will be finishing Sagittarius on Monday. And again, no major aspects on Monday. We'll probably start to feel those on Tuesday. We'll probably feel this Mars actually. So as a backdrop on Monday, good to just be a bit open-minded and free-spirited. I think it's been a good weekend in general. I think of having a bit of an open mind and a bit of new perceptions and beliefs about life, and maybe accessing a bit of that free spirit. So that's really good. And with Mars really trining Jupiter by this time, we're probably feeling that. And this can really lead to some confidence, some assertiveness, some strong sense of will or energy or proactivity. And it's a great week for this, really. Now, again, when it does come to the possibilities and potentials and opportunities, we do want to make sure we're grounded because of that square with Jupiter we'll talk about. But when it comes to our actions, our goals, how we're asserting ourselves, and again, our sort of sense of self, all this is in good harmony. And so a great week for maybe some of this stuff, whether it's setting new goals, whether it's getting a bit active with some things, whether it's again, anything that requires proactivity or literal active energy, all this looks quite supportive with that trine to Jupiter. So that is going to be apexing there on Tuesday, but we'll likely be feeling this whole early part of the week, really Monday through Thursday here. All right, but once we do get to Tuesday, and we'll probably feel this a bit on Monday as well, is of course the full moon. And so the full moon being in Capricorn is here to balance out that more watery energy of Cancer. We were talking about how it's a good time to be focused more on the emotional and personal elements of life. But Cancer, which is the same polarity, which are the things that are important to us, but Capricorn represents more of the outer world typically, or the things that we might feel like we need to work on and develop. And so it's a good time to do a status check with both our intrinsic values of Cancer and our extrinsic values of Capricorn. Extrinsic meaning things like our productive life, perhaps, or where we can put in some discipline and responsibility towards things and really see things for the long-term view and build towards them. So good time to do a status check with really how is that grounded, persevering, responsible, disciplined, patient side of ourselves, and maybe making some shifts and changes this early part of the week to carry that forward, to move that forward for the remainder of the lunar month particularly, so the next 2 weeks. And this whole new shift of perspective around Tuesday gives us that ability to make those shifts and changes and the clarity to make those shifts and changes. And so good time for that. And again, it is the apex of the lunar cycle, so it's worth noting that this is the highest energy of the lunar month, and using some of that momentum and some of these shifts and changes so that we can have, again, more balance between not only the personal elements, which has been mostly activated, but now also the productive and achievement oriented and responsible or disciplined perspectives, implement energies as well with this. All right, and that full moon again will be squaring Jupiter, which will be with the sun around Sunday. And so again, just seeing that, yes, there's definitely possibilities, potentials. We can be feeling a bit inspired or maybe feeling like, there's things we maybe want easily, maybe just simple enjoyments or exuberances or pleasures. So whatever it is that you're feeling in terms of that pendulum swing, because when the pendulum does go to one extreme, it will of course swing back to the other. And so in this case, there also might be periods of low optimism and non-inspiration or non-exuberance or too much of that restrictive kind of, or just lacking a bit of that open mind really when it comes to the downswing of this one. But good to, again, find that middle path with the pendulum swing. And in this case, how can we see opportunities, potentials, enjoyments, but work with them constructively, healthfully, in a balanced way, and what you could say with maybe some of this Saturn energy in a responsible way as well. So that's likely going to be all week because, again, the full moon will activate it, and then we have the sun squaring it more, stronger as we go through the later part of the week there until Sunday. And so just something good to kind of work with. But again, it can be very constructive because we can then take some of these opportunities, work towards them, build towards them. We can take some of these enjoyments and still enjoy them in a way that's healthy and balanced, and have a perspective on life that's also quite real and grounded. All this is a very good time for these things. All right, and Mercury opposite Saturn in a sense kind of is helping balance out the very strong Jupiterian energy we have this week. Of course, also the full moon in Capricorn is as well. Saturn is the polarity to Jupiter. Saturn rules Capricorn, so Capricorn, Saturn, practically the same energy. And so it's nice to see that kind of counterbalance. And so while we are doing that status check with the more grounded, responsible side of ourselves, good to particularly maybe do this with our mind and communication. It is good to see how far we've come for about the past 6 months in regards to anything that is about discipline with the mind, or with anything we've been, either learning about or doing in our work that is maybe communication based or mental or, cerebral based. Anything that's about really, seeing how far maybe we've come and developed so far this 6 months. For the yearly cycle, this does happen every year. But in regards to doing a status check with how is our communications, and how are we open to learning, and what have we learned, because we're always learning anyways. And this sort of awareness with the opposition and the full moon can help us make these shifts and changes as well. And I think for the remainder of the year, we can also implement some of this groundedness with learning, with constructive communication, using anything involving the cerebral or vocal, or just not really vocal, but just interchanging communication side of things. And it's a great week for that. So anything grounding there, again, taking some of that responsibility or discipline there with the mind or communications is really good. And by the way, just so it's clear, this also is involving maybe writing and other forms of communication than just verbal, just so that we're clear there. But yeah, very good for that here this week. All right, so that's the concentration of energy really, and then the square with Jupiter at the end of the week. That's just, really cultivating that sense of balance with perspective. And so this whole middle part of the week will likely be emphasized by the moon's placement. So the moon will still be in Capricorn on Wednesday with that full moon. Themes around cultivating those responsibilities and more disciplined approach. Wednesday and Thursday, mainly just Thursday, the moon will be in Aquarius. So we might say the later part of Wednesday and the early part of Friday. But around Thursday, a good time to maybe get in touch with our visionary side a little bit. Maybe focus on things like the future or the world or humanity, or even just getting in touch with our own collective, like friends, our own community. These things are great. So a bit of a good time to develop that visionary, progressive, innovative, and collective side of ourselves with Aquarius. But then the week does end here with the moon going into Pisces for pretty much the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And in this case, maybe some receptivity could be good, doing things that are more important to us on a soul level and spiritual level, in life, I think is always great and always a good sort of way to kind of finalize the week there. All right, so that's the week in a nutshell. Most important thing is the full moon, apex of the lunar month, highest energy of the lunar month, which usually gives us awareness with that sun energy bouncing off the moon. And here in the context of how we can cultivate both personal elements of life, but also productive ones as well, or things that require caring, but also, responsibility or discipline or maturity. And status check with that can help us make some shifts and changes to further the week. We do have a nice support with Jupiter and Mars, giving us maybe a bit of confidence or assertiveness that can be activated or available. Squares to Jupiter do suggest the balance, though, with anything that is about possibilities or enjoyments. And, Mercury being opposite Saturn helps add to that grounded Capricorn energy of some discipline and responsibility, but in this case, particularly with our minds, learning, communication type of matters. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube, and extra videos and content not normally released on YouTube. So if you're not yet signed up, it's absolutely free. Just type in your email address and you'll have those messages sent to you, usually about once a week. But again, thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time for the next weekly forecast. Take care.